Welcome to the Ohio Valley Sports Blog video podcast. I'm DJ.
I'm Cody.
I'm Ian.
All right, let's start out with some Ohio State basketball. The offense has struggled, to say it nicely, this year. Even with the win against Illinois on Saturday night, they only scored 48 points. So, Ian, we'll start out with you. Explain it to us.
I'm going to try to explain it to you in the best, nicest way I can, but this team only has two players that are averaging more than 10 points a game. And you compare that to other teams like in their own conference. Michigan State has 4 players that are averaging over 10. Michigan has 3. Iowa only has the same amount at 2. But they score 83 points a game compared to Ohio State's 70.5. Ohio State only shoots 45% from the floor, 34% from beyond the arc. It's inexcusable lack of offense, really, all around. You cannot tell me that this is it's an inexcusable just failure by this offense to generate anything. They don't have a consistent scorer. They don't have anybody that they can rely on to go out and put points up every night, and that's what's killing them. They rely way too heavily on their average at best defense, and it was a miracle that they made it out of Illinois without losing. Because they score 48 points against any other team in the country, and they'll get run out of the gym.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ian. I mean, it's just, you think about last year, they were a decent offensive team last year. I mean, they weren't a great offensive team last year. The only difference is that they're missing Deshaun Thomas this year. That's not that big of a loss. I mean, with all the defenses keying in on him last year, he was an average offensive player. So, I mean, he really shouldn't be that big of a loss for them. But then you look at a guy like Quentin Ross, who's averaging 14 points a game, but it's not consistent. Like the Michigan game, he scored 24, 26 points. But then the next game, like he'll score 6. Game after that, he'll score 12. They're lacking consistency. Like the Michigan game, they scored 60 points, and then they go out and score 48. I mean, it's really ugly to watch. I mean, it's kind of like watching a team from the 40s or 50s. I mean, dribbling around, and then they just throw up the ball because they have to.
All right, BJ. Deshaun Thomas, you were talking about how it's not that big of a loss, but what that did, when he draws 2 people, it leaves open shooters. This year, they really don't have to double team anybody on Ohio State, so they can play pretty much whatever defense they want to play against them. So although he didn't put up the numbers last year, just his presence there helped the offense. Mm-hmm. And secondly, do you guys think Kraft is hurting this team offensively? As much as I don't want to say that because he's so popular around campus and he's
around
smart
the country.
I mean, right. I mean he's a smart point guard. He's very defensive oriented, but I feel like he really never contributes to the offense. As a point guard, I mean, you either I mean, how many assists? Like around 4 or 5 a game.
Yeah, he's averaging around 4 or 5 assists. But like when we were at the game on last Tuesday night, they would inbound the ball to him. He'd dribble it down the court, throw it to one side, throw it back to him, throw it to the other side, throw it back to Kraft. He'd sit there, and he'd either throw a bad pass or he would go in for a layup and travel and get fouled, but get the call somehow. So, yeah, I mean, as much as it hurts to say, because he is a really good player, his offensive skill set is hurting this team.
All right, and they just really never developed in the 4 years he's been here. I mean, do you think they're going to be a better offensive team next year when he's gone?
That would all depend on... Seriously, the thing is, I don't think it's as much, Aaron Kraft not creating the opportunities as it is just guys aren't finishing the opportunities that are created. Like, there's opportunities there to be had in these games, whether it be Aaron Kraft creates the chance or whether it be that the guys create the chance themselves, and they just lack the ability to finish those chances, and that's what hurts them, I think, in the longer run.
Right, and I'm not putting this all on Aaron Kraft. If you rely on him as your primary offensive player, you're going to be about where you are right now.
The biggest thing, I think, outside of like the offense and whatever, creating opportunities, where's the energy? Like, where is, like, they seem like every night they come out there and it'll seem like they start out great and then they just fall off. Like, they just completely stop caring about the game. It's what happened to him against Michigan. I mean, it just seems like they'll either just come out really hot and then fall off, or they'll just start out flat and never get rolling.
Right, and I mean that's the sole reason they lost that Michigan game. They gave up 15, 16 offensive boards on. I mean, they weren't even boxing out,
No.
and that's what really beat them that game. So I mean, what are we thinking? I mean, maybe a second round victory, get bounced out before the Sweet 16, as it stands right now, something like that.
All right, let's move on to WVU. Last week we asked if they were now a tournament team. They had a little bit of a rough week, but looking forward, looking at the remaining schedule, they have 5 games left.
They got Baylor,
They have Baylor,
Iowa State, TCU, Oklahoma, and Kansas.
Yeah.
all from memory. That was pretty
That was
impressive.
impressive.
Thank you.
So you look at that,
In that order too.
and
Yeah.
in that order.
You're good.
I mean, you said it correctly. So looking at that, Cody, what do they need to do in those games to be a tournament team?
Well, right now they sit at 15 and 11. The 11 losses is what hurt. Obviously, is what's hurting them because they have some very good wins and they have some very bad losses. They're 7 and 6 in the best conference I think this year in college basketball. I think they need to beat Baylor. They need to beat Iowa State again. They need to beat TCU. That will put them at 18 and 11. Then they either have to beat Oklahoma or Kansas. That puts them at 19 and 12. They win a game or two in the Big 12 tournament, I think they're in. They're literally the first, like, number 1 NIT seed. But I mean, so I'm gonna say they have to go 4-1, I think, to make it, because you win 19 games in the best conference in the country, you should be in the tournament.
Yeah, I would say 4-1 would get them in. I would say that they would obviously need to beat Baylor at home. Then a big win for them would be going to Iowa State and getting a road win in Ames. And Iowa State's top 25 team this year, so that'd be a really solid victory. Then they need to go to TCU and take care of business against a bad TCU team. Now, like you said, they need to beat either Oklahoma or Kansas, but I think if they would beat Oklahoma, even if they would lose at Oklahoma, if they gave Kansas a really good run for their money and ended up at 3-2 and then had a decent showing in the Big 12 tournament, I think that would get them in. I think the biggest thing would be showing that in the last game of the regular season that they can play with a good team like Kansas.
See, and Ian, I want to hear your opinion on this. But I don't think moral victories count in the eyes of the selection committee. Just because you play with a good team doesn't get you. I mean, they might say, okay, well, good job, but you still lost. Same thing with like the Pitt and Syracuse thing going forward.
I think that depends on certain circumstances. West Virginia is a big school. It's in a power conference, so if they play another power conference team tight and falls short, then yeah, I don't think that counts. But if you're like a mid-major school and you play a big team close, then I think that counts for a little bit more in the eyes of the committee than it would for, say, a West Virginia or any other school in the Big 12. My scenario that I have them getting into the NCAA tournament is pretty simple. I think they have to handle their business against Baylor and TCU. Obviously, we're all in agreement that they have to win those 2 games. I think if they beat any one of Iowa State, Oklahoma, or Kansas, I think they do that. Plus, I'm going to say 2 to 3 wins in the conference tournament gets them in. That's what I think. I think the body of work has been good enough to this point to maybe get them in, but I think 3-2 plus 2 to 3 wins in the Big 12 tournament gets them in.
And like you're saying about them being a big name school in a power conference, I mean that goes a long way in the eyes of the selection committee. Because I mean, sure, the Cinderellas are always a great story, but WVU brings fans. WVU brings fans that's going to drink a lot of beer and add a lot to the revenues. So I mean, you got to consider that. Let's move on to OU. They have a rematch with Western Michigan coming up. Earlier in the season, they lost 90-74. And what's it got to be different this time?
Well, I think in that game, OU actually didn't play that bad of a game. They shot about 51% from the floor for the game. So I mean, you can't ask for much more. But they turned the ball over 16 times. But that's a big problem. But The reason that gap was so big, Western Michigan shot 72% from the floor in the second half of that game.
That'll do it.
I mean, that'll put away just about any team. If Ohio had 4 players in double digits in that game, I think they just gotta, obviously cut back the turnovers a little bit, and make hope that Western Michigan doesn't get that hot again like they did the last time. Western Michigan is another one of those top tier teams in the MAC. They've had a really great season this year. They're really good in conference. They're up there in contention for one of those top 4 seeds in the MAC tournament, which is huge because that gets you an automatic bye to the quarterfinals. So I mean that's a huge boost for a team. So obviously you're gonna want to. Ohio has that home court advantage. It's gonna be at home. It's gonna be a big game for them. I think they can come out and definitely turn their fortunes around and win this game. As long as the turnovers stay down and just hopefully Western Michigan doesn't get that hot again.
Yeah, I think if they come out with the home crowd behind them, tons of energy. I mean, you look at Steve. I mean, he's one of the most energetic players in the country. He comes out, feeds off that energy, and has a big game. I think that'll go far for them. Like you said, the 72%. I highly doubt that Western Michigan will shoot 72% again. But I mean, this is a big game for OU. I mean, another top tier MAC team, like you're saying, jostling for position. I mean, that bye is huge.
That's a huge advantage.
Right, and we all know, unfortunately, in the way it is today, if you don't win for a mid-major school, if you don't win your tournament, you're usually not into the big dance. So you guys are right. It's really going to be important in terms of getting that seeding because that's the only way you're going to get into the big dance.
All right, let's move on. Let's play the one-word game.
We love this game.
Saturday morning, probably one of the best hockey games I've ever seen. United States and Russia. It goes down to that shootout. I mean, Jonathan Quick and TJ Oshie pretty much won that game for the United States. Cody, give me one word for Oshie going out there. I mean, what was it?
8 rounds.
8 rounds.
8 rounds.
8 rounds.
4-6.
He was 4 of 6 in the shootout.
I mean, really, that's just unbelievable. I mean, 4 of 6. I mean, he owned Bobrovsky. I mean, that's one of the better goaltenders in the NHL, and he just made him look like a child. I mean, anytime the USA needed a goal, he was right there. And I mean, credit Bilesma for going with the hot hand because he was taking advantage of that rule, and he just kept rolling with it.
Yeah, I'll go with you. I'll say, what do you say? Incredible.
Unbelievable.
I'll say incredible then. I thought you said incredible. It was so intense watching. I mean, before that game, I didn't know about the international rule where you can use the same shooter over and over. And to be quite honest, I've never really heard of TJ Oshie before this tournament. So I mean, to see him go out there and just absolutely own Bobrovsky, I mean, that's good stuff right there.
Classic. The whole game was just an absolute instant classic. From the beginning to the end, it was great. And the greatest thing about it is how many times in that shootout, TJ Oshie had to score to extend the shootout. Like, it wasn't like, oh, score this goal and then Russia's going to shoot again. No, this was the game on his stick. And he came through every single time. That was the greatest thing about it. It was just a completely unbelievable performance from the entire team, and hopefully they carry that success on.
Let's move on. Pirates and Clint Hurdle announced today that Francisco Liriano, the NL Comeback Player of the Year last year, will be the opening day starter. Cody?
I mean, I'm going to say surprising. I thought Garrett Cole was going to get the nod, to be honest. I mean, I understand where they're coming from because he was 16-8, but I just thought Garrett Cole showed last July, August, and into the playoffs that he was the ace going forward. Not that it really matters a whole lot between the 1-2, but I was a little surprised that, Garrett Cole wasn't given the nod.
Ian?
I'm going to say, I don't know, probably expected. I mean, he had probably the best season of his career last year. It's he. I think with the loss of AJ Burnett, I think he assumes the mantle as the ace of the staff in my eyes, at least. I mean, obviously Cole is the man that's tabbed for that in the future, but I think in the time being, I think it's Liriano's job to hold, and I think he's going to be the guy. Yeah, I think he has to be the guy to go out there on opening day.
Yeah, I'm gonna say non-surprising. Like you said, it was pretty much expected.
I was trying to think of a way to
Right.
incorporate that, and I couldn't think of any other word.
Right. But I saw something today. It was pretty funny. The last 5 opening day starters for the Pirates, including this year, Zach Duke, Paul Maholm, Kevin Correa, AJ Burnett, and then Liriano. So definitely moving in the right
That's
direction.
definitely an upward trend.
Zach Duke, Liriano.
I don't know about you. I was excited when they had the Zach Duke bobblehead, and I had that. I had that.
Oh, bro.
I think we have those.
The Zach Duke bobblehead. Yes.
In other news, Blair High School hired a new football coach today. Comes from
Cincinnati St. X.
Cincinnati St. Xavier. Ian.
Brilliant is going to be my word. I think out of all the possible candidates, this guy was probably the best one they could have gotten for the single reason alone is that he comes from a winning tradition. You don't get much more greater winning traditions in the state of Ohio in high school football than Cincinnati St. Xavier. And this guy comes from that. I mean, you can hire the local guy from Cameron, but it's Cameron, not exactly the greatest winning tradition. Cincinnati St. Xavier is a team that consistently competes for state titles.
In D1.
In D1.
Yeah.
I think it's the best movie they could have made. I think he brings a level of intensity and a level of focus to this team that I think as long as the players buy into it, sets them up really well.
I'm gonna go with bittersweet. I mean, it's great that we got probably one of the. He was probably on their wish list of players because why wouldn't you stay at St. Xavier's and continue to be, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's still upsetting because I thought Jose Davis really did a great job.
He did.
And he really got the program turned around. I'm just hoping this guy sticks around for a while. You know, this is the last thing we need is the guy to come in, continue to make strides with the program, maybe win a couple playoff games, and then springboard himself into a coaching job somewhere else. You know.
I'm gonna say confident. It was a confident move to get such a great hire. I'd like to see him. I mean, you're talking today. You're talking to your brother, and the coach said that they're all going to be vomiting from workouts, and he's going to love it. So I really hope he brings a brand of physicality that's been missing from Belair. As much fun as it is to watch the spread offense go, it's still nice to see good old fashioned football and just
preach. Preach.
Let's move on. Kyrie Irving of the Cavs won the All-Star Game MVP. I mean, he looked pretty awesome out there.
I could have looked awesome with the lack of defense, but that's a different discussion for a different time. But
I'm not saying that they played the best defense in the All-Star Game. I'm saying he was the best one.
He was.
He was the best one not playing with defense.
There we go.
Cody?
I mean, it's pointless. I mean, for all the reasons you two just said. He won an MVP of the game where people were playing no defense. I mean, the final score was like 163 to 155.
Something like that.
Something ridiculous. So, I mean, it's kind of cool that he won because he's from Cleveland, and Cleveland never wins anything.
Shut up.
But how about like a regular season MVP? I mean, All-Star MVP. Woo.
Yeah. Now that you said all that, it sounded like such a good idea earlier. But you're right. You said pointless.
Yep.
Pointless.
Bittersweet.
No.
I'm going to go bittersweet here for the simple reason
there we go.
is that I know I've seen this script before. already in
Can you just lay
immediate aftermath of the All-Star game. It's not like people were talking about how good the Cavs are going to be set up for the next couple of years. It's where's Kyrie Irving going after his contract's up?
Who
Like,
wouldn't want to leave Cleveland?
shut up!
All right.
And finally, and probably the best news of the day, full squad spring training started today.
Yes!
The sun came out today. It was a blistering 40 degrees.
And baseball
Ian.
is back, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I cannot wait for the season to start. It's my favorite sport. I love watching it. It's so much fun. I can't wait for this season. Let's get it started. Come on, let's go.
I'm gonna say about time.
Yes.
That's kind of cheating, but I mean, especially after the way the Pirates lost that game against the Cardinals in Game 5. I mean, it's kind of left a bad taste in your mouth. So I mean, the players have been thinking about that all off season, and I just kind of noticed something. I think baseball is Ian's favorite sport because it's the only team that Cleveland actually is good at.
You got any more over there?
No, that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet and say amazing. It's my favorite time of year. The sun's gonna start coming out. It's gonna start being warm. Pirates aren't gonna make me cry this summer.
Well,
Let's move on to things that do make people cry. The Cavaliers return from the All-Star break this week. They're 20-33. Just been an absolute train wreck of a season. Ian, should we expect anything different in the second half?
Since I'm always the most optimistic person
here we
here,
go.
they come into the second half on a 4-game winning streak.
Yay!
Yay! But in reality, it's probably going to be more of the same. Since joining Cleveland, Luol Deng is out averaging 14.6 points a game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. All of those numbers, by the way, are down from his time in Chicago. So just throwing that out there. Anderson Varejao has been non-existent. Surprise.
Anderson Varejao.
Surprise. Anderson Varejao has been non-existent. Yeah,
he has good hair.
he does have good hair.
That's the only thing keeping him
I was
around.
going to say, I
That's about
think that springboards you into like a 10-year NBA career.
That's the Birdman.
Yeah,
but he's got a championship.
I'm with you, Ian. I mean, they made the trade. They dumped Bynum because Andrew Bynum is Andrew Bynum. I mean, they get Luol Deng. I mean, you think, all right, you're gonna have Irving, then you're gonna have Waiters and Deng on the wings. I mean, you're setting up something nice here. And then Luol Deng catches the Cleveland bug and continues to suck at what he does. I don't know. I mean, I just feel bad for Cleveland fans. Well, don't you just start to I don't know. I mean, like, you feel bad.
All right. Quit picking on Ian, BJ.
I don't know.
If I'm Cleveland, and I know this is the last thing a Cleveland fan wants to hear.
He's gonna say.
I know he's gonna say the T word.
No.
Oh, okay.
We're not trading.
Here comes the T word.
You have to fire Mike Brown.
Oh.
I'm sorry. But
That's the last thing the Cleveland fans want to hear?
That's the first thing I want to hear.
I know because he's been so bad. But I mean, talk about trying to build a stable organization and stuff like that. They don't want to hear a carousel of coaches. But I mean, the guy went to LA and couldn't cut it there with Kobe Bryant. I mean, granted, he was aging. I mean,
yeah,
he rode LeBron's coattails for the first 8 years of his career, 7 years.
Yeah.
I mean, if they would fire him and get somebody who can bring some offense, because there's weapons there.
But it's not even that, because you can have a defensive-minded coach in the NBA and be successful. I mean, look at the Bulls. I mean, Tom Thibodeau brings that defensive style, but his players buy into it and are equipped to play that kind of system.
I know, but
Mike Brown is a defensive coach, but his system obviously doesn't work, and he doesn't have the players to run it.
But when you bring in that Chicago argument about having a defensive guy and they're buying into the system, they always come up short in the playoffs in terms of scoring. Granted, they haven't had Derrick Rose last 2 years, but I mean, you can't tell me with the healthy Derrick Rose, they're still going to compete with OKC in the scoring with them, with Golden State. You have to score to win in this league. I'm just saying, there are only 3 games out of the 8th seed. That's how bad the East is this year. So I mean, if they could get
Playoff bound.
I wouldn't even want to watch a playoff
if they could get
game
some
right
kind
now.
of
Them get
offense,
slaughtered
Oh
by
my
Indiana.
God.
if they had some kind of offense, they may be able to make the playoffs. But I
You're not holding your breath.
no, and I still think they should just fire Mike Brown.
I thought you were gonna drop the T word.
No, I would not trade Kyrie yet.
No, not trade, tank.
I thought he
Well,
was gonna say trade Kyrie.
I know, but
well, they don't have to tank. They're
they
just
don't have
that
to tank.
bad anyway.
Well, I mean,
Moving on.
Let's
Move
move on to our final topic:
the best topic.
Olympic hockey.
Yes.
Woo!
The USA has been absolutely dominant so far. 3-0 in the prelims. The only close game was the Russia game,
Which was expected.
which was
Yeah.
expected. I mean, you have probably the best line in the tournament right now with Kessel, Pavelski, and Van Riemsdyk.
Yeah.
You have one of the best goaltenders. I mean, just probably the most complete team. So, Ian, kind of give me your recap of what's happened, so what you've noticed so far, and what you expect going into the elimination round.
This tournament has broken a lot of ways that I didn't expect it to break. I thought Canada was going to be a lot more dominant than they have been, and they've kind of sputtered their way into the knockout stages now. Same with Russia. I thought they were going to be a lot more dominant than they have been. Surprised at how well Sweden has gotten along. Surprised at how well Phil Kessel's played. I'm honestly
Yes.
surprised at that. I mean, he's leading the tournament in points and assists. Or is it goals? I can't remember, but
He's up there. in both.
he's up there in both, and he's also tied for the lead in plus minus.
Key stat.
That is a good
That
stat.
is a good
That's
stat to
hockey
have.
stat.
That's a good stat to have. USA in the group stage outscored their opponents 15-4. And remember that Russia scored 3 of those. So, that just goes to show you how good of a performance they've put in top to bottom. On a Penguins note, Ollie Mata's tied for 7th in points. He's got 9, or no, 4. He's got 4.
That's really good coming.
That's
from
really
a defense,
good from a
especially
defenseman.
and a young defenseman.
2 goals, 2 assists.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if Canada thinks they have an on-off switch at which they can just turn it on, because they've looked like crap.
They have.
I mean,
There's no excuse for them
Right-
playing as bad
right?
as they
No.
have.
When
When they have all that.
when
Mhm.
Taves
Jeez.
is on your 4th line
Mhm.
and you can't muster up any offense, it was 1-1 against Finland going into the overtime period.
And I mean, Finland's a great team.
They
and all,
are, but you would expect to
Canada-
score more than one
but Canada's
goal.
got to put those teams away.
I mean, I think just questionable coaching by them and Russia. I mean, Mike Babcock separated Crosby and Kunitz, which I just didn't agree with, because why would they have chemistry?
They do.
It's hard to play with Sidney Crosby because he's so unique and he just
Mhm.
I mean, he's got this great skill set. It just takes time to adjust. So you break that up. I mean, the Russians, they don't even put Malkin on their top power play unit until today.
So
Which
they've changed
may-
that, but
Yeah.
Just some stuff I didn't really expect. I mean, I thought Russia had the advantage over the United States because
Yeah.
it was in Russia and
Mhm.
they
That was the only game I think that the Russian team has looked like an actual cohesive unit.
yeah.
Like,
I mean,
really. Like,
and if it wasn't really for
and I'm going to just drop this little, because I heard this on the broadcast today of the Russia game. Do you think there's more of an NHL KHL split in that locker room than maybe a lot of people were giving off, especially with the recent Kovalchuk thing and all of that? Do you think that maybe divides it a little bit more?
I mean, it could, because I mean, the KHL players could look at the NHL players as sellouts.
Mm-hmm.
Say, I mean, you moved away from your home country and I know the Cold War is over, but there's still bitterness,
Oh, yeah.
especially from Russia's end, because we won.
We won.
So I mean, like, there's got to be kind of like a sense that you're a sellout. You move
Mhm.
to the arch enemy country just to get paid millions of dollars.
Mhm.
I think you could
Hey,
stand.
hey,
That's got
million
some
of
legs.
dollars, but you're playing with the best players in the world.
Yeah.
You can't compare. I mean, the KHL's all right, but that's like comparing the MLS to the Premier League, kind of. And
I
so
wouldn't say that far.
it's
Not
on
that
this.
big of a drop off.
It's not.
Not that big.
But
But
you
I
get the
understand
point.
what you're saying.
The NHL's up here, and the KHL's kind of down here. It's
Yeah.
a still. I would rate it the second best league.
Yeah.
But
But
there's a
it's-
big drop off.
Yes.
Okay. With the way that the tournament's seeded, Ian, do you want to give your predictions?
Yeah. Now that we got the brackets in,
Right.
think it's time
We're
to,
all
like-
wrong.
we're
all
all
wrong.
wrong.
Surprise.
USA and Canada are not going to play in the gold medal game.
Semifinals,
So,
but yeah, the way I see it breaking, I've got the USA and Sweden going in the gold medal game, and then I've got Canada and Russia in the bronze. And either one of those games are toss-ups in my eyes, really. With as great as the USA and Sweden have looked, and with as average at best that Canada has Russia has looked, who knows with those two games.
you want to give it a pick?
Yeah, I'll give it a pick. I'll go USA wins the gold, and
Sweden gets the silver.
Sweden gets the silver, and I'll go Canada gets the bronze.
Yeah, I'll go with the U.S. and Finland in the gold medal game. Finland.
Going out on a limb.
It's not that big
Not
of a
that big of a
limb.
limb.
but that's
I mean, Finland. I mean, when you have Tuukka Rask in that, I hate him. I want to punch him in his face. But I mean, he's probably one of the, if not the top, one of the top goaltenders going right now. Then in my bronze medal game, I have Canada and Russia. I'm gonna say USA gets the gold, Finland gets the silver, and then I'll say that Canada gets the bronze, and that heads start to roll in Russia after that.
hold on.
Literally and
Hold on, wait,
figuratively.
hold on, stop. Who do you have in the bronze? In the bronze medal game?
Canada, Russia.
You can't have Russia.
Why can't- Oh no, because of Finland. Russia
are
and
playing
Finland.
tomorrow.
You're right.
So if you're
Wait,
pi-
stop.
Okay. I'm just.
Okay,
I'll let
so
you.
I'll have USA and Finland. I'll say that USA wins, Finland gets silver. Then I'll have Canada and
Do you think Canada's gonna win bronze?
yes.
Okay. So you have Canada with the bronze.
I
got you.
forgot that they're playing
No, I'm just
tomorrow.
saying.
No, I'm glad you pointed that out because
Alright,
I
but-
don't want to.
No, because
Have a
I'm
doing
sitting.
what they do moment.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I'm sitting here. I'm like, wait.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I gotcha.
I have the United States and Sweden in the gold medal game just because, as it stands right now, Canada's not looking good. USA is, so I think USA beats the Czech Republic. They take care of business, and I think they win the gold, which leaves Sweden with the silver. And then I think Canada and Finland play in a rematch, and it's hard not to count. I mean, especially if Canada would lose to USA, they'd have a bad taste in their mouth. So I think they're gonna get the bronze. I don't even think Russia's gonna make the semifinals. They've looked that
So
bad.
I'm gonna say Canada, Switzerland, Canada, Sweden, and the bronze medal game.
Who are you?
Yes,
Okay.
because that's where the bracket works.
Yeah.
I got
Okay.
it now.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, thanks for watching, everyone. Let's go USA.